actually, we just got the video in. Let me play it for you, Rev.
President's action. This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties. His decision to fire a United States attorney who refused to bring charges against me and replace them with someone who is blindly loyal not to the law, but to the president is antithetical to the bedrock principles of our country. This is the time for leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against this blatant perversion of our system of justice. I stand strongly behind my office's litigation against the Trump Organization. We conducted a 2-year investigation based on the facts and evidence, not politics. Judges have upheld the trial court's finding that Donald Trump, his company, and his 2 sons are liable for fraud. I'm a proud woman of faith, and I know that faith and fear cannot share the same space. And so today, I'm not fearful. I'm fearless. And as my faith teaches me, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. We will fight these baseless charges aggressively, and my office will continue to fiercely protect New Yorkers and their rights. And I will continue to do my job.
Wow.
She is probably one of the most evil black women that I've seen outside of this big back that was doing videos on me a few weeks ago. She is one of the most evil big backs that I've seen outside of the big back that was doing videos about me the other day. That woman is pure evil. I can't see how anybody would be able to lay next to her with the way that she operates. And they tried to leverage every single thing that they could in order to try to take Trump down and prevent him from becoming president of the United States of America again. And he was able to do it despite all of the opposition and all of the hate. And guess what? I don't even know if y'all realize why he got convicted in New York. Y'all even know what the accusations was? The accusations wasn't reported on by the banks. Nobody complained. Everybody made money. Everybody got a bag. Remember this. They tried to say that the money that the banks, who never complained about Trump whatsoever, that the money that the banks gave Trump as a result of the valuation of his real estate dealings was not valid, or it was overinflated because the value of his companies was lower than what it was that he said to the banks. Now, usually what happens with a bank, because I worked at them, I understand them, I broke it down. Usually what happens to the banks is that they have to do their own due diligence. Banks do their own due diligence to find out exactly what the valuation is and your ability to be able to pay money back. It's just the facts. And so what they were saying was, oh no, the valuation of what his companies weren't what they wanted it to be, or weren't what they stated. But the bank said, hey, listen, we was good. We got paid our money. Everybody made money. Everybody was good. And so we did our own due diligence. What's the problem? Most people that even will say, no, Trump is convicted, or no, this and whatever. So do you know that most people have no clue why he was even being convicted in the first place, why he was on trial in the first place? Most people had no clue. They have no clue of what was going on down there in Fulton County when Fonnie Willis was busting it down for a real one and trying to make a name off of herself. Most people have no clue of what was going on in New York. Most people have no clue of what was going on down in Mar-a-Lago in Florida. They just recite something that D.L. Hughley says. No clue. But in reality, you shouldn't throw stones when you live in a glass house. What did 50 say? You shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Some, you better watch your mouth because I'll break your face. You're going against me, dog. She was living in a glass house. And so now what's happening is she was actually committing fraud, mortgage fraud specifically, but we'll get into that in a second.
Rev, speaking to the moment with words crafted for the history of these times.
Look at this sellout.
No question about it. And I think that if he were going to pick an enemy, he picked the wrong one, because the strength and as well as the eloquence of Tish James will now be on the national stage. Because one, I agree with some of the panelists that the case will probably be thrown out. If it is not, it is going to really expose the weaponization of this president.
Let me show you the disrespect. This was back when he was acting like he was This is back when he was acting like he was Don King. Good friends. Lots of pictures together. I mean, you can literally just go in and do a Google search. Look at all of the different pictures that they had together. Young Trump, older Trump. Good friends. They were some of the best of friends, shaking hands, the whole 9 yards. These guys, look, let me show you something. These guys had so much love for each other that he knew his wife. Al Sharpton knew Trump's wife, met Melania. That's how evil these politicians are. They'll do anything to get a check, anything to sell out the community. And the minute that Trump said, "No, you know what, I'm going to run for president of the United States of America," Al Sharpton all of a sudden became an op. He knew Trump when Trump was super young, all of this stuff. They loved each other. They was out and they took pictures at multiple different events. They held each other's hands, met his wife, all of that stuff. And now all of a sudden, every single thing that Trump does, it somehow became bad.
Against any of his political enemies or his perceived enemies. To have Lisa Cook in the Federal Reserve and Tish James accused almost of the same crime, and then he goes after Comey. And this is a man that just a year and a half, 2 years ago, was saying that he was the victim of politicization of the criminal justice system, and juries found him guilty. Let's not forget, when Tish James and the state attorney general's office of New York prosecuted his companies and him and his university, they didn't find him guilty. The juries found him guilty. The prosecutor can't say you're guilty. They can say you are accused. We're indicting you. He was found guilty of sexual harassment by a jury.
Everybody know that was a fraud. Listen, I don't even think anybody can get a fair case in New York. If you're going to do crime, don't do it in New York unless you're a low-level crime person. If you got visibility and significance, don't do crime in New York. Only do crime in New York if you're a YN. Only do crime in New York if you are a YN. Do not do crime in New York if you are a person of significance and you are a conservative. It's not going to work out for you, big dog.
He was found 34 counts felony.
They're not, listen, they're not even addressing the what she did.
These criminal by a jury. So there's no one that can doubt that this is all vengeance, a misuse of the criminal justice system. And I think that what he's done is going to really backfire. I think I've been getting calls already. People are ready to rally around Tish James. They know Tish James. Tish James wouldn't cross on a red light. I mean, she's annoying. She's been had so much integrity. I grew up in Brooklyn knowing her. And I think that it is absolutely absurd. He has just started the re-election campaign for her because people are going to rally around her that may have stayed out of it because it is blatant what he's doing. In the same week, you're going to arraign James Comey and you're going to indict the state attorney general, and both of them were people that dealt on the other side of you. I mean, people are not that stupid.
Rev, you said you know her, and she's annoyingly a stickler for rules and the law. Say a little bit more about her personally. Carol Leonnig, our colleague, reported earlier that she and her attorney were prepared for the possibility of this. I think those of us still maybe delusional enough to think that facts would prevail in Trump's Department of Justice are still shocked by it. But it sounds like our reporting suggests she was prepared for this.
She's a very methodical, able person. She will go after friend and foe and look into whatever allegations she considers right. And she does her homework. And she, I'm sure when he first started tweeting that she and others put his name out there. I mean, he doesn't even know how to whisper weaponization. He takes a megaphone and says, I'm going to go after so-and-so, and these are the people that are going to do it. So I'm sure she started preparing then. You must remember, Tish James was not a machine candidate. She ran and won on popular support when she lost a Democratic primary. All
right, so I want to do forward and a throwback. So I want to talk about what's currently in it, and then I'm gonna go all the way back to when she was first from the same network. Okay, let's start off. So we're gonna go here.
General Letitia James has been indicted on allegations of bank fraud after President Trump demanded it. James denies any wrongdoing and says the president has weaponized the justice system. CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland joins us live. And Scott, what did we learn from the indictment and anything unexpected?
It's a really short charging document, Cindy, but there's a lot to unpack from it. What the Department of Justice is arguing here is that when Attorney General James filed paperwork with a bank to secure a mortgage on a home in Norfolk, Virginia, she did so in a way that indicated it was going to be a primary residence when in fact it was a rental property, and they accused the Attorney General of having, quote, ill-gotten gains from that difference of nearly $20,000. Letitia James has unequivocally and consistently denied wrongdoing here. This is an unorthodox case for several different reasons, Cindy, not just because of the nature of the defendant, but because the prosecutor who brought it has been on the job only a few days.
Now, I want to go over to 5 months ago. All right.
New York Attorney General Letitia James' office is blasting a federal criminal referral, potentially targeting the AG. The Department of Justice is being asked to investigate after the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency claimed that James falsified records for home loans in Virginia. The referral says James listed a Virginia property as her principal residence in 2023, despite holding office in New York. Federal officials also say James misrepresented the number of units at a Brooklyn property and previously listed her father as a spouse for more favorable loans. A spokesperson for...
So I don't know if y'all would consider that mortgage fraud, but I certainly would. So you misrepresented the number of units. Now, some people may ask, well, Anton, why is that relevant? What difference does it make if she misrepresents the number of units? Because then that determines the type of loan that you get and whether or not you qualify, which also determines whether or not you also can and can't get a certain type of mortgage on it. So that is clearly fraud. Now, these are all allegations, so we just having this conversation, right? But in addition to that, she also designated it as her primary residence when in reality, she was living in New York. On top of that, she also listed her father as a spouse in a separate deal so that she can get approved for it. Now, this is what's being reported on the news. This was 5 months ago. And so now she has to face the music. Now, let me be very clear. Let me be very, very clear. I believe in innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I believe that everybody deserves their day in court. And I am not saying that she is guilty. I am just saying that she will have an opportunity to be able to present the evidence that says otherwise. That's all. That is what's being alleged. And instead of Al Sharpton talking about whether or not there's any merit to the case itself, he's talking about whether or not he likes Trump and whether or not she can get reelected as the Attorney General in New York.
James released a statement reading, Attorney General James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. Joining us for a closer look at the referral is legal expert Nicole Branecki.
So we don't need to go into all of that. The fact of the matter is, now she'll have her opportunity to be able to prove herself in court. And I believe that everybody should be able to prove themselves in court, not necessarily the court of public opinion.